Hi, this is Dean Odell with 7 Gables Real Estate and the Odell Group. It is July 15th and it's time for another Tustin Talks. We have a lot to talk about today. So let's go ahead and get started. We are going to separate fact and fiction in terms of what's going on in this market for you. So let's go to the charts. Starting with the active listing inventory, you can see now that we are down to 2,528 homes, but that is up 6% from the last reporting, so that's good. But if you look at where we were last year and the previous 5 years to that, and average all that together, last year we had 4,645 homes and we averaged 6,820. So we are still way down. Even from last year, we're down 2,117 homes. Put another way, we had 86% more homes to sell last year than we do right now. It's still hard to find that inventory, but luckily inventory is going up and we will see how that looks with demand. But just understand that number of 6,820, which is a 5-year average, we are down 63% in inventory from that average number. So we still have an inventory problem here, and I am going to compare that for you real quick, because people think that, this is 2006, 2008 happening all over again. Well, let me just tell you, in 2006, we had 16,000 listings for this time of year. In 2008, we had 18,000. Right now, I'll remind you, we have 2,528 homes. Okay, so let's look at the demand. I'll tell you what, last week I was on open house for the first time. I just wanted to get a vibe. I went out there and held our house open, and it was crazy. It was amazing how busy it still is, because we know for a fact that demand this time of year is normally dropping because of the fact that, people are going on vacations. It's the summer market. And as I've explained before, the spring market is our strongest market. But right now, we have 2,761 homes that sold since the last reporting. That is actually down. So demand has dropped a little bit. Okay, it's down 9% from last year's number. So we got demand down 9%. We have listings up a little bit, like 6%. So that's a little bit of a change in the market. That's good. So now the 5-year average is normally 2,699 homes for demand this time of year. We are just up just a little bit from that. So if you look at all the other years except that green year, because we know that green color, that was last year, and that was a strange year, and we know why. So, normally we would have almost 2.5 times more homes to sell this time of year. We would have 6,820 versus 2,528. But our demand is reaching kind of the norm if you look at where the norms are. So one more thing I'd like to say about demand is that we have basically, for every 2 listings, there are 3 sales going on. That's why inventory just keeps getting depleted, because there's not that much coming on. Versus our foreclosure market, 2006, 2008, we had 8 listings for every 1 buyer. Okay, so 8 listings for every 1 buyer instead of 2 listings for every 3 buyers. We're gonna talk a little bit more about foreclosures and forbearance and all this stuff that you guys are reading in the news. It's pretty much nonsense at this point. We'll talk about that later. And believe me, I wish it was true. I got 2 kids that are in their late 20s. I'd love to see them be able to buy a house and have all kinds of choices and tell them, hey, the market's gonna go down, all this kind of stuff. But you know what, right now, it's not in the data. So unless you have a crystal ball, I'm not sure why we're hearing this from the buyer community, but we wanna set you straight. So let's go on to the next chart. Hey, sorry to interrupt this program, but we want to make sure you are subscribed to Tustin Talk, so please click on the subscribe button below. And then if that doesn't work, just go to theodellgroup.com, or you can go to youtube.com/Tustin Talks. Now let's get you back to the program. Now, looking at the expected marketing time, if you've watched some of the last episodes, I told you that was probably going to start going up in the summer because, again, the spring market's the hottest market, and it has gone up. I think the low I remember was about 22 days. It's now up to 27. And if you look at the chart above that, you'll see what constitutes a hot seller's market versus a deep buyer's market and the number of days associated with that. You can see anything under 60 is considered a hot seller's market. But as we know, that is price point specific. So we're going to look at the next chart now, which breaks this down into price points, okay? So what you can see is every price point is a quote hot seller's market, meaning the expected marketing time is under 60 days. The only price point that's not like that is over 4 million. Over 4 million is actually very much the opposite, right? It's a deep buyer's market. So unless you have over $4 million, you're gonna have to deal with the market we're in, which is a hot seller's market. You can see in that over $4 million price range, you've only got 2% of the demand and 12% of the inventory, right? So that is not a good ratio for sellers in that price range. Okay, we're gonna talk a little bit about forbearance and foreclosures, but I'm gonna save that until after I do the Tustin chart, which you can only find here at the Odell Group. We've got our 3 zip codes on here, and I want you to see how wild our spring market was. Look at the 3 zip codes, look at the for sale and the new listings, how much those are down year over year. And we know last year was a slow year because we know what happened last year, right? So this just goes to show you in these zip codes, these 3 zip codes, how much the inventory was down. Now, what's crazy, look at the solds. The solds were up. So you have these solds way up in a market with way less inventory, right? So it's just, that's why we have such an inventory shortage. And we're always looking ahead at the pendings and saying, hey, the pendings, which means the escrows, that's gonna be what's reflecting in the data 30 days out, 45 days out. Let's see where we are there. Well, we are down in pendings. And that's gonna be the story you guys are gonna hear in the papers. Oh, sales are down, sales are down. Well, of course they're down. Our inventory's down. We don't have as many homes to sell. You know, we only have half the homes to sell. When you have that much inventory off the market, of course there's gonna be less sales. But the demand that's out there is amazing because of the fact that almost every one of these sales is multiple offers right now. So if you look at the average active price and the average sold price, that's really interesting too, because the average active price has actually dropped in price. So that was surprising to me. And then the average sold price is actually up. Let's talk about how crazy these stats are. Final list price to original list price. Look at it. Everything's over 100%. Everything is selling over asking price, except for Tustin Ranch and Tustin Legacy, the 92782. There's been a little bit of flexibility there, which means they're just probably pricing their properties higher than the market, and they're having to take a little bit off to get it over there. So average days on the market, you can see how that is for the zip codes. That's this chart. All right, so here's my advice for buyers and sellers. Buyers, I know you guys are frustrated. I was out there on open house. I mean, I'll tell you what, it was fun to see everybody again, and I think people actually enjoyed being there again. But I could tell that the buyers are very frustrated right now, and deservingly so. But unfortunately, it doesn't look like it's gonna get any better anytime soon. They're talking about 2022 being the same type of market it is now. 2023, we might start to see things change a little bit. So what you got to focus on is long-term interest rates. How long am I going to be in this house? And you got to stick with it, because the only guarantee that you have to get a house is to keep making offers. If you don't make offers, you have absolutely zero chance, okay? But let's talk about what you're reading in the news. Foreclosures are up, this, that, da-da-da-da-da. Okay, well, let's talk about that, okay? So people think because everybody went into forbearance, or a lot of people went into forbearance, I think there were 7 million people nationally, 7.2 million, as a matter of fact, that went in to forbearance. Now, forbearance means when the bank says, hey, you don't have to make your payments anymore, you can just stop, right? The government said anybody can do that for, up to 6 months, then they extended it. Now things are coming off. Well, out of that 7.2 million people, 5 million people, 5.2 got out. So there's only 2 million people left. Okay, 2 million people in a market that normally sells 6 million homes a year. Now, if you looked at the inventory, let's just assume every single one of those houses came on the market. Oh my God, that would be wonderful if that happened. Okay, we might actually normalize the market, but you know what? It's not gonna happen, you guys, because out of those 2 million, 90% of the people have equity, so they can just sell. Okay, they can sell, they don't have to dump their houses, they don't have to lose them to the bank. It's not gonna be a foreclosure situation. The only way you're gonna see a foreclosure situation is if people start losing their jobs and the economy gets bad. And until you start hearing that kind of news, stop thinking that we're entering a housing crisis, because right now there is no indication of that. People aren't going to just stop buying houses because you guys don't like the prices. You know, I wish it was that way, but as long as people can afford houses, they're going to keep selling because there's a lot of demand. And the millennials are like the largest generation ever to buy homes. Remember, everybody said they were going to sit home and they didn't think home ownership was good? Well, did you believe that story? Because that's absolutely untrue. They're all out buying these homes right now, okay? And they're qualifying for them. This is not, you know, back in the day when anybody didn't have to qualify. They got to qualify for these houses. So anyway, until the economy starts to get fragile, people start losing jobs, we don't see this letting up anytime soon. Sellers, everything's great, but the thing is prices can only go up so much because, you know, every time they go up, that's just less buyers. And I'm starting to see that on my listings now. You know, at the beginning of the year, we'd have houses that would have 15, 20 offers on it. Now, maybe only 5. You know, maybe only 7. You can tell that there's a difference. There's no doubt about it. Part of that is affordability. Part of that is people are normally vacationing this time of year. At least the families are getting ready for the school year afterwards. So this is kind of, if you look at these charts real close, you'll see that the market's kind of normalizing in terms of their patterns that it takes, the way the lines move. Sellers, I wouldn't wait too long. I mean, I really wouldn't. You know, it's trying to time the market is not always good. So I know the biggest problem for most of you is you don't know where you're going to go. Maybe we can help you with that. Give us a call. Let's discuss it. Let's discuss what your needs are. There might be a solution here for you, and there's a lot of things going on. You've got capital gains may change, Prop 19. There's a lot of issues here. So give us a call. Let's talk about it and let us advise you. And I'll tell you what, sometimes I tell people, you know what? You just stay right where you are. You got the best thing going. So it's not like we're just out to sell your house. So give us a call and we'll help you out. Talk to you later. Thanks. Bye-bye. Hey, don't forget the Odell Group is one of the top 10 teams in Orange County. We have sold thousands of homes. So draw from our experience and let us help you out. Subscribe right now and watch our videos to educate yourself, whether you're a buyer, seller, or both. And then visit our website at theodellgroup.com and reach out and let's get to know each other so we can help you. All right? Thanks. Bye-bye.